welcome to the stage Dr. Shelton Goode, Chief Executive Officer of Icarus Consulting.
Good morning. Man, I tell you what, I am so proud, happy, and humble to be back. But I got a bone to pick with you guys. Last year, I was in Houston. Let's go ahead. And y'all blame me for the weather. Me and Jody had a nice little conversation, and y'all blame me for the weather. And now y'all taking it out on me, because yesterday, I was bouncing around trying to figure out where to go eat in the Northeast team with my girl Joy. I didn't come hang out with y'all because I'm a brother that likes lemon pepper wings and sweet tea. Y'all didn't go no place for lemon pepper and sweet tea. So I was going to hang out with my folks down in Conyers, that in the southeast part. Figured, go ahead, come on. Figured that they would know in Atlanta, you got to have sweet tea and lemon pepper wings. No lemon pepper wings and no sweet tea. So y'all are mad at me because I brought the weather to Houston. Can a brother please get some lemon pepper wings and some sweet tea? Please. Let's go ahead and get started. One thing that I remember talking to John and Jody last year, I says, hey, skip the whole bio thing. The most important thing people need to know is that I am a Mattress Firm customer. My lovely wife, I brought her with me. She's out there, and she says, you've got to connect me with who's ever over our Conyers store. We live within 3 miles of 2 stores out in Rockdale County. She says, because you promised me a new mattress for our honeymoon. So we bought a mattress, and she compromised and let me buy one that wasn't as firm as she liked, and I have promised her that before our anniversary on March 26th, she can get whatever mattress she wants. So who's ever over our 2 Conyers store, Pam, where you at? You need to make sure you get with those people, okay? Oh, there you go. Okay, all right. She's already with the crew. All right, cool. So now I've gotten the 2 most important things out the way. I'm going to get me some lemon pepper wings and some sweet tea, and my wife's going to get her mattress. So let's go ahead and get started. I really feel close to this company for a lot of different reasons. And today I want to talk about an ideal organization. And I believe your company is very close to it, and I'm hoping that at the end of the day, there's a couple things that I can share with you that's going to move you even closer to being a inclusive, diverse, equitable, accessible, and learning organization. So let's go ahead and get into this and get started. We're going to just go through. Now I'm going to be going through this information rather quickly. They've given me 30 minutes, and then we've got a part 2 that's going to come. So don't worry about taking notes. We're filming this. Everybody will get a copy of the PDF deck, and then I'm hoping everyone will connect with me on LinkedIn so we can continue this conversation, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We've all heard about this big quit, this great resignation, whatever word you want to call it. It feels like the Thanos effect. I've got 41 clients in 3 countries, and they are all experiencing the same thing. Where are all the good people? Here's a headline from the New York Times, and you can see the dateline on it. This is not something that happened 6-7 months ago. This is happening today. Where did all the good people go? So companies are experiencing 2 things. In addition to all of the things that are related to COVID, they are experiencing trying to get good people, trying to get high potential performers, and hold on to the top talent that they already have. Now, if you don't believe me, let's go ahead and roll a quick video and let's find out, did Thanos really snap his fingers and half the planet went away? Let's roll the tape and let's see if we can't find out what happened to all the good people.
We did lose some people during the pandemic.
I think COVID's just got people reevaluating things a little bit, thinking about their path, their future,
Could we be on the verge of what's being called the Great Resignation? As employers and employees look ahead to what jobs will look like as COVID restrictions ease, experts say many workers may just pack up and leave.
Many employers are underestimating how difficult this transition back to the office is going to be.
Workplace expert Debbie Carew expects the return to the office post-restrictions will bring one of the largest workplace turnovers of our lifetime.
So if employers think that they're just going to say July 1st or September 1st, everyone back to the office, they're probably going to lose a third of their employees if they don't handle it carefully.
It's this hidden thing that's about to hit employers that they don't recognize is coming. I think that most employers, when I hear them speaking in the news or they're putting out press releases, they're saying our culture, our culture, our culture. And I think what they're forgetting is that there's before March 2020 and the way the world was, and then there's after March 2020. And culture has evolved and changed as people have worked from home.
Most of the people we spoke to on the street were hopeful their employer would at least keep some kind of hybrid model, with time divided between in-person and at-home work.
I like having my own space, kind of figuring out my own hours.
I think having the chance to, if it's just one of those days, being able to stay home, it's great. I love it. But you get that energy at the office still.
The benefits from working from home, like the no commute and that sort of thing is hard to pass up.
Carew warns employers should start talking to their staff now about what they are hoping for as far as a permanent workplace environment.
There's so many unknowns right now that a lot of people are really evaluating and saying, is the grass greener somewhere else? And even if they're not necessarily jumping today, I can guarantee you more than half of your workforce is at least thinking about it or looking at what other opportunities are out there.
In Vancouver, Ashley Burr, City News.
So we know about this, right? So the question is, Doc, what do we do about it? You have a great culture. You have a great organization. If you're going to, number one, get those 700 plus vets that you've committed to getting, if you're going to get the top talent that is out there, and more importantly, hold on to the people that have helped make this a good company, a great company. If you're going to hold on to them, then we have to do more of this. We have to have more intentionality and more efforts around making sure that we're taking intentional efforts to be inclusive and make sure everyone understands what that means for Mattress Firm. When we're talking about diversity, if you ask 10 people what diversity is, you may get as many as 50 different answers. We have to make sure we understand what that means at Mattress Firm. Equity. We can't afford for people to believe that equity is giving people something that they haven't deserved or haven't earned, but to make sure that different people need different things to be the best versions of themselves. And as a leader, what is my role in making sure that I identify what it is that they need and then provide it? And then this allyship. This is big for me. This is big. Everyone could use an ally at work. And this is not new. And as a matter of fact, if you will ask people that leave, go to your Glassdoor, go to other places, and say why they leave. Number one, they'll say, hey, either I wasn't getting along with my supervisor, or in some cases, my best friend or a good colleague resigned, retired, left the company. So allyship is important. And then learning. And this resonates exactly with what we're doing today. And I love the fact that you guys have built into this leadership conference, your Courageous Conversations workshops. I'm going to try to pop into one or two of those because that's one of the things that we offer as well. And I want to hear how that's going. Equipping leaders to be effective in this new environment that we find ourselves in this new challenging environment. Super, super excited about a lot of things that you guys are doing. The other thing that I like is that you have a robust model. Mattress Firm knows who Mattress Firm is. And you say, well, Doc, that's true of a lot of companies. No, it's not. A lot of companies have found themselves, are finding themselves struggling to either remember or hold on to who they are. And so, you guys have got goals. You've got strategy. You're doing things like this to make sure that everybody understands what the expectations are. And then you're holding, we're going to talk about this too a little bit. I'm holding people accountable for applying things that they're going to learn, for an example, in the Courageous Conversations workshops. That's how you get to an organization that's inclusive, diverse, equitable, accessible, and is a learning organization. So, why is this important to Mattress Firm? I don't have to hammer this point home too much. They said it quite well in the video. This is now January of 2022. It's different than it was just last February. I can remember very, very well being in Houston, talking to Jody, talking to Chris, and talking to others, and it feels like, man, a lot has happened since then. And so we need leaders now. We need leaders that are going to listen to learn. We need leaders that's going to be vulnerable, leaders that's going to be authentic, leaders that's going to be transparent, leaders that's willing to say, you know what? I don't have all the answers, but let's work it out together, and let's start by you telling me what you're thinking and feeling and experiencing at work, and then let's see if we can't work together so that you can be the best version of yourself, so that you can take care of customers like Dr. Shelton Goode and get him to buy a purple bed that's his wife wants. So that's important. I know the efforts. I know the efforts you put in to make sure that customer experience is a certain way. And I'm talking about the education. My wife has gone into that store 4 times and laid on that bed. And every time she comes home, she says, I keep going back because I learned something different every time. That same effort implied internally, leveraging your counsel, leveraging your employee resource group. That's how we're going to get to that model that we just talked about. And so inclusion, this word gets thrown around, as does a lot of these big words. But we all know what inclusion is because we all know what inclusion is not. We've all been on teams where we've had the uniform on. We had a number on our uniform. We had our name on the jersey, but we sat on the bench. Never put into the game to play, never put into the game to contribute. And so making sure that everyone on the team feels valued, respected, and that they are given the opportunity to contribute to the success of the team and the company. That's what inclusion is. It's not about counting people. It's about making sure that people count. Let's move on past that. We've made that point. Let's move on. Let's go back to this, because there's some people in the room. There's some people in the room saying, oh, this stuff is not related to business, or this stuff doesn't have any impact on team performance, on individual performance, on company. And I will tell you, it does. It does. The research is there, folks. The research is there. Don't take my word for it. I challenge you. You go out and just simply Google, is there a relationship between a person feeling that they're valued, respected, and their level of engagement and productivity in the results that they generate? Just check it out. And then, of course, those results bubble up from the individual to the team, from the team to the store, to the division, all the way up to the bottom line. Every metric out there has shown that inclusion, when it's can be leveraged for competitive advantage. So the question is, so what should we be doing differently, or what should we be doing better? And I will just tell you, keep in context everything that's going on. And again, I apologize if I'm redundant. This is January of 2022. Just think back what has happened in just the past 12 months alone. And ask yourself, am I comfortable, confident, and competent being able to talk to my people, listen to my people, to find out what it is that they need to do their best job? People ask me all the time, can inclusion be measured? Absolutely, absolutely. Employee engagement surveys or diversity, inclusion, equity surveys, whatever you want to call them. But what we need to make sure is that, number one, people understand, people come to work every day and go home feeling like we heard them, that we're doing things differently and better, and that we are asking you for your help. And by the way, we'll keep you updated on the progress. That's all people are asking for. Let's talk about diversity. Again, you ask people a lot of different definitions. They'll immediately default to representation. But I tend to think of it a little bit differently. I tend to think of it as the fact that we have a lot in common. We have things that are different. The question is, can we embrace and value and appreciate the differences that we may have, and then find out where we can leverage the differences? We know about the commonalities. It's easy when you have things in common, but can we leverage the differences that we have to make the team and the company better? Equity is a word that's greatly misunderstood. But again, equity is giving people resources, realizing that people are different. Different people need different resources in order to do their best work. As you see in this slide here, the people on the left are trying to enjoy the game. One person is experiencing something different than the others. It's not until someone decides to do something proactive and intentional, so that barriers can be removed, processes can be changed, policies can be enacted, so that everybody can have a good work experience, so they can be the best versions of themselves, so they can produce the results that the company needs. So, Doc, what I need to do different? Just talk to your people. I know that, again, that's going to sound like a broken record, but we need to talk to people. We need to create an environment for them to talk to us. You need to go ahead, and you're going to find out when you go through courageous conversations. Some of you probably have already gone through and know and can validate what I'm about to say. Some of that, sometimes people are going to come to you with a little bit of heat, a little bit of emotion. Hey, I can see this is important to you. Let's get some extra time on the calendar. Let's talk about this. In the meantime, here's 2 or 3 things that I need a little bit more information about. And here's 2 or 3 things I'm going to go and research on my own. And then let's schedule some time and let's come back together and let's talk about this. That's straight out of difficult conversations. That's straight out of difficult conversations. A lot of people try to, in the heat of the moment, solve the problem, and that's not how it's done. But again, talk to your people, listen to them, then provide them the tools, resources that they need to do the work that you want them to do. Allyship, everybody could use an ally at work. And an ally is that person that's in the room when you're not in the room. That's talking about you. And it's advocating for you when you're not there, that talk and advocate on your own behalf. And the thing I like about allyship is that you can engage in allyship at whatever level, around whatever issue that you are comfortable engaging. You can, if You say, Doc, what are you talking about? If you're not comfortable wearing a Black Lives Matter t-shirt to show that you're an ally, fine. There's other ways to show that you are an ally. If you don't want to march in the LGBTQIA Pride Parade that we have every year in Atlanta, fine. There's other ways that you can show that you are an ally. And so the thing I like about allyship is that if you want to be a supporter, a champion, or a change agent, there are a number of ways in which you can jump in and be an ally. Okay, I'm getting the sense a lot of people are like, ally, I still don't get it. Let's run a quick video and let the video explain to them what I'm not able to do right now, what allyship looks like. Run the video.
Hello.
What's going down?
Oi.
Hi.
مرحبا أنا نوف.
Konnichiwa.
Vamos a hablar.
This is about you.
This is about us.
I'm a father of 4 amazing kids.
A dancer, but only in my bedroom.
A believer in the power of stories.
Soy bilingüe, casi trilingüe.
An engineer, a nerd.
Sou lésbica, eu sou amiga.
Japanese, Korean.
Palestinian, a German national.
An immigrant, East Asian American woman of color.
And a Zamiltak.
あなたも私の同僚です。
We make amazing things together.
We aspire to bring joy
to the entire world.
But
you and I inhabit different worlds.
You and I have access to different spaces.
Unless you've experienced it, you can never fully understand what it's like to be stuck between 2 cultures.
To pretend to be someone else in order to be safe.
To grow up in South America in Spanish, and at 19 having to relocate to the US and live in English.
To be a Black gay man from the rural South.
And be the only one in the room.
Unless you've experienced it yourself, you can never really know what it's like.
To have to listen to someone be degrading to your race and be the only person of that race in the room.
To lose friends, family, co-workers, simply because you wanted to be who you are.
To not know whether you can call the country that you love home.
To be the father of a trans daughter.
I think we all have a responsibility to make the world that we live in a little bit better. And you kind of have to start where you are.
What allyship is listening, compassion.
To immerse yourself in content, in experiences and stories from groups that aren't of your own.
Anybody who sees something that isn't quite right can become an ally and help their colleagues.
When you've been through a struggle that hurt you for such a long time, I think you have this endless energy to give to others.
Anyone can be an ally, and everyone can use an ally, and you can use your privilege in the moment to extend that privilege to someone else.
I think this is what makes us human, to help others and to be empathetic.
We're all learning.
We're all learning.
E tá todo mundo aprendendo.
Mabad.
Together.
Juntos.
There's one company.
We can all be allies.
We can all be allies.
Let me put this video in context. Netflix is an Icarus client. Their chief diversity officer is a personal friend who I've known for years. And when I was a chief diversity officer at Southern Company, she was a rising star in the field. When she says, hey, I want you to come out and do what I'm doing with you guys, they showed this. And I said, you have got to give me permission to take this story around, because you can take the Netflix logo off. I'm a big advocate of listening to employees, of listening to people, and then trying to take that information and figure out how it should be best applied. One of the questions you're asking, Doc, so okay, what should I do? What can I do at my Conyers store? What can I do in the Northeast? What can I do in Houston? What can I do to get people to understand this? And one of my favorite things is this 30-day ally challenge. And this is not, an Icarus thing. You can go out and Google it. And it's just every day, do something to show that you're an ally. And you'll find it, and the thing that Jody and John Eckwood like, it's not going to cost any money. This is free, and it gets people involved, and it's fun, and it gets people to understand that it's not a program of the month. It's something it's a part of their culture. I would not recommend this if I didn't think this would fit for your culture. But I know this is the sort of thing. Now, don't start turning it into some competition and all of that, because I know how competitive you guys can be. But this could be so much fun, and you can do it anytime. I will tell you that a lot of my clients do something like this during Diversity Awareness Week, which some do in April and others do in October. It's global. It works. It works. It absolutely works. It gets across the concept of diversity, of allyship. And so I would say, if you're looking for something to do, this is something very, very simple. So let's talk about learning. And that's, if you want to talk, for me, the thing that was made very clear to me early on, when you guys went through your training with Eagles Flight, that I was happy to help develop when we initially developed it for Papa John's, then enhanced it, brought it to Mattress Firm, enhanced it, and now we're taking it, all over the country. Is that your company is a learning organization? And you say, Doc, what's a learning organization? A learning organization. I'm going to read this. The only slide that I'm going to read, and see if this is not Mattress Firm. Learning organization is skilled at creating, acquiring, and transferring knowledge and modifying its behavior to reflect the new knowledge and insights. That's Mattress Firm. It means that you're not a fixed mindset, that you're not fear of failure, that you give both grace and space to learn from mistakes, and you're not satisfied with past performance. So the question becomes then, Doc, what should we be doing different or better? Continue to explore, encourage exploration and risk-taking, provide performance-enhancing feedback, and now that you're going through the Courageous Conversations workshop, you're going to be even better at doing that. And then, mistakes are mistakes, right? But make those learning opportunities, and then reward good efforts. You want to recognize effort. And, if you went for it on 4th and 2 and you didn't get it, okay, all right, fine. But also reward results. That's not that hard. And again, budget friendly. So moving on from here, awareness to action. What are some of the things that I want you to do based on just the few minutes that we've been together so far? At the end of your leadership conference, I want you to go back, commit to doing one thing, just one thing different or better. Remember last year, I shared with you a technique called 3-2-1, right? I talked about asking people for feedback and saying, tell me 3 things I did well, tell me 2 things that I could do better, and tell me 1 thing that I should never, ever, ever do again. So here's another one for you. Just commit to doing one thing different or better. And then plan how you're going to share the information and apply it with your team. Remember back in when you did your training with Eagles Flight, we asked you to put together a personal action plan. Think about how you're going to hold yourself accountable. Think about how you're going to hold your peers and each other accountable. And then commit to learning more about some of the things we're going to talk about today and some of the things you're going to experience this week. And then, like I said, think about one thing, just one thing that you can do just a little bit better or do just a little bit different. That's all I'm asking you to do. There's some great resources out there. Number 1, connect with me on LinkedIn. The first 5 people that connect with me on LinkedIn, I'll send you a new copy. I'll send you a copy of my latest book called Beyond Inclusion, Reimagining the Future of Workers in the Workplace, to go along with these other great resources. And I vouch for all of these in terms of what they could do to enhance some of the things that you already know. Some final thoughts. The power of me. The power of me. I'm different. Your employees are saying, me, I'm different. I bring something unique to the team. I bring something valuable to the team. Let me in, coach. You know, I've got some ideas. I've got some suggestions. Oh, by the way, I'm thinking and feeling a certain kind of way. You know, kind of like when Dr. Goode doesn't get his lemon pepper wings. But I got some ideas about what we should do. Let me share a couple things with you. Yeah, I know. Whether I've been here 10 minutes or whether I've been here 10 years, the power of me added to the team could be just that extra thing, that magical special sauce that puts us over the top. And so I would ask you to think about that. And then our tagline at Icarus Consulting is let's defy gravity. Let's do something that no one has done before. Let's use these crises as an opportunity for change, and let's all do something just a little bit different and just a little bit better. Thank you. We're not through. We're not through. What I want to do, because I want to make sure that some of these things I touched on, some of these things you're already doing, like we're going to do a 3-2-1. So I think the best way to do this is to have a conversation and find out how, talk a little bit more about how we make this real at Mattress Firm. But I think the best way for me to do this is to bring up my new bestie. You guys know her as your DE&I leader as Brianna, but for me, I just refer to as B. B, come on out here.
Who run the world, girls? Who run the world, girls? Who run the world, girls?
Everybody, good morning. One more round of applause for Dr. Goode, please. So Dr. Goode. So Dr. Goode started this journey with us about a year ago this time. So do we not consider Dr. Goode to be a member of our family or what? So as a token of our appreciation, we want to give you an inclusion pin, Dr. Goode, that everybody in the audience also has to symbolize that you are a member of our family.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much. I love these things. Being a retired military vet, pinning, when you got promoted, you get, thank you for that. When you get ranked, they have a pinning ceremony. So now I'm gonna get promoted and get pinned. So I've got one too. Yeah. All right. You wanna have a talk?
Thanks so much. We're actually gonna have a seat, Dr. Goode, and we're gonna have a conversation around what we've been up to over the last year, but then also where are we headed. So I'm super excited to be here. And I would say, you know, I joined the company about 8 months ago, and I feel like I'm a part of this family. So kudos to y'all for making me feel that way. So I want to first start by talking about some of our accomplishments for last year. And I want to start with representation. So Dr. Goode talked a lot about diversity, right, and representation. We made some significant progress on recruiting both females, but also ethnic minorities to our organization. But specifically at the senior leadership level, 60.9% of all new hires were diverse this year at the senior leadership level. We also have a lot of work to do. And I think we have work to do at the senior store manager level, but also at the district manager level. To support our Promote Inclusion value, our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council has put us in an exceptional starting position, so shout out to y'all in the crowd. This year, we took 675 people through Eagle's Flight DE&I training. That is a huge deal. We also launched organization-wide employee resource groups, starting with the Champions of Racial Equity, ERG. Shout out to them. Followed by WIN, the Women's Initiative Network. And this year, we have plans of launching more. So we've committed to launching a Veterans Employee Resource Group, as well as an LGBTQ+ ERG. So Dr. Goode, I think it's only right that we start our conversation with about employee resource groups, right?
Outstanding.
So as we continue to grow and develop our ERGs, what should we be thinking about and what expectations should we be setting up for our leaders to be able to support that growth and development?
Yeah, so first of all, outstanding, especially since you have an initiative. You've got two groups. Those are, and I'm sure those are two good groups to start with. I'm super excited by the fact that since you've made a commitment to bring on over 700 veterans, yes, that you're now going to create an internal network that's going to support them with a veterans ERG. That to me is outstanding. Let me talk to my leaders out there. I know that the people that are joining these groups are going to be your superstars. They're going to be passionate. They're going to be your top performers. And it's like, Doc, Brianna, I need them doing, they're already a superstar. A high performer is usually defined as a person that's doing 1.5 times work as an FTE, right? So I know the leaders are saying, I need them even more now than ever, and yeah, I want us to be supportive of this, but man, I just can't, I need them, working for me. I would ask you guys to think about it this way. Support these groups, support these, the people that are participating in events, the people that are leading the groups. It will pay dividends, first off for the company, but, and then obviously there'll be a trickle-down effect for your team. But I also would ask you to think about the fact that these ERGs, particularly the people in leadership, think about that as career and professional development. Absolutely. So that's you. Your support of them is like an investment in their development. And I know there are always these myths and rumors. Aren't these groups exclusive and all of that? They're not. Take a look at your employee engagement survey results once you do the survey and get them back. You're going to probably find your psychological safety and your belonging scores to be higher. And I bet you, when you try to correlate it, it's going to be correlated to the fact that you've got these active employee resource groups. So I know, don't think about it as being a sacrifice, having your top performers be a part of these groups. Think about it as an investment in the individuals, in the team, in the company.
Thank you, Dr. Goode, and I want to pause here just for a moment. I want to ask if everybody in the crowd who sits on the steering committee for the DE&I Council are champions in racial equity, ERG, or WIN, please stand up. Stay standing, stay standing, stay standing. Notice who's with you in this room today. I also want to ask for anybody who has participated in a DE&I Council meeting or an ERG program or event to also stand up.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Thank you all for your leadership. Thank you all for being trailblazers. I understand that this is new for us as an organization. And what I challenge you all with is this time next year, I want to see every leader in this room standing to say that they have participated in one ERG program or event. And if you don't know where to find out information about how to get involved, we're hosting a breakfast tomorrow morning, and correct me if I'm wrong, y'all, in Spruce 1-2 conference room at 8 a.m. Please come and meet your ERG leaders and also members of the DE&I Council Steering Committee.
Outstanding. Outstanding.
So now I want to move on to talking about training. Dr. Goode talked a lot about the fact that it's important to be a learning organization, and I believe that that is us. We train our people better than anybody in our industry, and that includes DE&I as being a part of that training. So you guys have gone through Eagle's Flight. We've now launched our diversity sleep certification course where members of your team have gone through that. And Dr. Goode, my question for you is, how do we continue to reinforce what it is that people have learned?
Yeah, a great question. Can I take a moment of privilege for a second?
Of course you can.
Because I found out talking to John today that the field people, the L&D team, put this whole thing together. You guys rocked. You need to give a round of applause to those guys. A huge investment. So you got the training, right?
Yep.
And so there's two things that I would ask the people that have attended that training to do. Number one is to remember back when we asked you during the training to think about a personal action plan so that you can move from awareness to actually action and doing something. And I know you got a lot already on your plate. You're trying to take care of customers. You're trying to, get your sales numbers up, keep them up. So it may feel like it's one more thing, but we're just going to ask you to do one more thing and figure out, number one, how can I apply just one thing that I learned from the training? That's one thing that I would ask. Number two, how can you cascade some of it down to the people on your team in staff meetings, in small group settings, so that they could get some benefit from it, or reinforcement as well, because they're going to take their cue from you about what's important. That's number two. Number three, what can I do, Dr. Goode, to continue learning on my own? There's all kind of resources out there, books, YouTubes, things like that. There's things you can do on your own. But more important, fourth, and maybe the most important is, in order to get past whatever discomfort you may or may not have, to be more competent, to be more confident, and then which will lead to being more competent, you're just going to have to lean into some of this. You're going to have to do it. I know that this is an action. This organization has a high bias for action and results. So just, I would ask you to apply the same philosophy, the same energy, the same vigor to the things you do to make sure that customers like me are happy, even when we come into the store 4 times and still haven't bought that bed that we've been talking about. Okay, and trust me, we're going to buy the bed. But every time my wife comes in, y'all still make her feel a certain way. And she hasn't even thought about going anyplace else. Apply that same thing to the training. That's all we're asking you to do. And then I don't know who's responsible for this, but now y'all have taken the Icarus Flight training and decided to raise the bar and do courageous conversations and do that in-house. I can't wait to peek in and see how that's going. So that's what I would say. And be peer mentors and coaches to each other, support each other. When someone says, hey, I need to have a courageous conversation with somebody, can I come and practice it on you first? Or, and be there for that person. Those are the things I would advise. And oh, by the way, none of those things cost you any money, okay? They don't. All right.
So, Dr. Goode, I actually love everything that you said, and I think it mirrors exactly what John Eck had told each of us on the first day, which is the importance of practice, and that practice makes perfect. So when you talked about applying that same rigor to DE&I, I think it's super critical for us to make sure that we're practicing that. Maybe we create a drill around DE&I the same way that we do around other topics.
Mm-hmm.
So now I want to pivot just a bit.
Okay.
And earlier, John Eck had talked about the fact that we are reframing our purpose to have a noble purpose that's focusing on helping people sleep well so they live well. Whenever I hear the word people at the center of anything, it's critical that we lead with humanity. And leading with humanity to me, Dr. Goode, really means how do we create those conditions or that environment to make sure that every customer that walks in our stores feels like they are connected, they feel seen, they feel supported, but they also feel proud to have purchased something from Mattress Firm. But in order to do that, we need to make sure that we are also creating those same conditions for our associates here at Mattress Firm internally first. So I wanted to ask you, Dr. Goode, what have other companies done to create a culture of belonging and inclusion?
Yeah, I will tell you, the number one thing that they're doing now, and this is directly related to COVID. COVID made a lot of people go back to the drawing board and say, what is it that we were doing well that we need to do different or better? What is it that we said we would never do that we now need to do? My wife, former senior vice president at Cox Automotive, they were telling people you can't work from home. Now, 78 to 85% of people are working from home. So what people are doing are going back and looking at the business model. I would say apply the same thing to any people, process, practice, whatever you want to label it, diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, whatever, and say, what is it that we should be doing different or better? My number one thing is, let's remember who we are. What are our values? What are our culture? And what do we need to do to remind people, while there are things that we still need to do to get better, there's a lot of things we are already doing that's pretty good. Like I said, my wife still went into those stores and during COVID, and it's obviously you guys were still doing something during COVID that morale was up. And it was relayed, and it was showing up in that customer experience. So there was something that was going on behind the scenes. I don't know what that super sauce was, but y'all need to keep that and remind people, remind them of who you are, and and that will get you through bad times. This whole thing about noble purpose, link it back to values, link the noble purpose and values to the culture, and simply remind people, yes, we are working hard to get better. So we can, in the areas of inclusion, diversity, equity, accessibility, and learning. But we're good. And oh, by the way, we need your help. And if you, again, let me take a minute of privilege here, because you and I have been talking a lot offline about, what you've experienced in your short time here. What I would like to know is the people out here that we're talking to, what's on top of mind? Is there anything anyone has shared with you? That's what's on the top of the mind. What's keeping them awake at night? What is it that we need to do? People like you and me. I'm trying to help you help them so that they can be the best versions of themselves. But what is it that they are telling you that they're looking for? Can you share that?
Yeah, so I actually would love to pivot to another question that gets to that point. Something that I hear often from you all in this room is that diversity, equity, and inclusion feels like it's optional here at this company. But if we're talking about our noble purpose is centered around our people, is it really optional?
Shouldn't be. Is customer sat optional? Is sales numbers optional?
It's not. So what do we do to be able to hold each other accountable for ensuring that DE&I is not optional?
Yeah, my answer to that question is, what do you do to hold yourselves accountable for making sure that customer experience is consistent with the Mattress Firm brand and the Mattress Firm value and culture and noble purpose? What are you doing around sales to make sure that, and I know Mattress Firm is not satisfied with your numbers. You're never going to be. So you're always looking at how we can make those numbers. I know. It's like, trust me, we're going to be trying to add to them in a couple of weeks. I told Kristen the other day, I'm going to have to raise my fee. Y'all beds are expensive. I don't even I even cashed a check yet. My wife's spending it already on beds and purses and shoes and stuff. So I would say, what are you doing to hold yourselves accountable there? I don't know, but I would say it's working. Whatever you're doing with customer sat, with sales, and other behaviors. Why wouldn't you be applying that to diversity, equity, inclusion? Why are we putting that off to the side? It should be baked into the way you're doing business. Now, formally, if you need scorecards and all that sort of stuff, and I've seen that drive, results.
Yeah.
But I would say again, if you already have a scorecard, don't invent a separate one for DE&I. Let's add a component and say, listen, our noble, whatever you want to call it, culture, noble purpose, some kind of way we want to see something different or better in this component, and just make it one, and then say, hey, we're going to link that some kind of way to how we evaluate who's going to be sitting in this room next year. We're going to link that some kind of way to whether or not how much additional money people can put in their pockets. Those things work, but don't do something different. Do something better.
Yep.
Do something better.
So, Dr. Goode, I think we do have a balanced scorecard that we measure ourselves against. We do have engagement surveys. We started to look at our process and how we think about talent and who is it that we are growing and developing throughout our organization. But I think to your point, we can most certainly get better at those things to ensure that DE&I is linked back into that.
Yep, that's the way to do it. What else is on top of mind? This optional thing, let's take that one off. That it is not optional. What else is keeping them up at night?
So I hear a lot about mentorship from folks in the audience of who's actually moving through our organization and why is it that Mary has a mentor but maybe John doesn't. So I think something that we want to focus on this year is creating a structure or some intention behind launching a mentorship program so that everybody has the tools and understands what does it take to be a mentor, but then also what does the process look like to be mentored. So, I'd love to hear from you first. Could we talk about what is the difference between mentorship and sponsorship?
Yeah, and I know somebody said, what's the difference between mentorship and allyship and sponsorship? So we throw these words around, right? So let's see if we can't make them simple. A mentor. Think about a mentor like a personal trainer, somebody that has a particular expertise in an area. So you're a manager, you're a leader, you've got a person, but this person has decided that, I'm doing a great job already in what I'm doing, but I think I'd like to do something else. And maybe you say, well, you know what? If you want to do X, let me connect you with John. John is an expert when it comes to influencing, persuading, being able to speak concisely, being able to give you the bottom line up front. I'm going to connect you two. And you and John are going to figure out, how this mentor relationship is going to work over the next 3 to 6 months. So that's mentorship. When I think about sponsorship, I think about sponsorship kind of like allyship. Wouldn't it be great, let's say that Patricia, who's doing a great job, and it's different than when Patricia is tooting her horn, and she doesn't want to do that because she doesn't want to be perceived as tooting her horn. Wouldn't it be great if somebody was in the room and they says, hey, I know we're looking for, the next sales leader or the next general manager or district manager. Why isn't anybody talking about Patricia? Patricia's done this. She's delivered this result. She did it under these conditions. She develops her people. Why aren't we talking about her? And somebody is probably going to say, oh, man, I didn't think about her this way. Should we give her the role? Does she need additional development? And that's what I'm thinking about. Is someone in the room that can be in the room being a champion? There's another word. Being an advocate, there's another word. So, but that person who's in the room, being that's talking about Brianna, I've experienced that. 3 or 4 people have come up to me, introduced themselves. Oh my gosh, we love Brianna. Blah blah. Who are those people that's talking about you? So that's what I think about. But most important, when I think about mentorship, the number one thing that I hear from people, from leaders, just like the people in this room, is I'm not as comfortable as I'd like to be. I'm not as confident as I'd like to be mentoring people that are different than I am.
Right.
Can I share a story?
Of course you can.
So we'll call this person Jeff. And Jeff is a very high-ranking person in one of my client organizations. Jeff says, Doc, I need some help. I says, what's going on? He says, I have a sales VP who she's just not cutting it. I says, well, is it COVID related or whatever? He says, no, she wasn't cutting it even before. I says, okay, so what do you need from me? Well, I'm not confident giving her the feedback that I need to give to her. So what I'm thinking about doing is letting her mentor do it. I'm like, no. Because now that's not the role of the mentor. And I'm using this story to distinguish between where that role should be different. I said, you're the manager. If she is not producing the results that you need, you owe her to give her the feedback. By the way, why are you not giving her the feedback? Well, she just, she's a black woman. And I'm like, stop. Stop. You're trying to tell me someone is not performing and you're not gonna give them the feedback that they need and you need because she happens to be a woman and happens to be African American. Shame on you. So let's you and me coach. Let's go into a coach mode. Let's have a couple courageous conversations. I'm going to try to be my best, black female. And hey, don't laugh. I've got 3 daughters and a wife. I got a lot of practice. So I was like, but again, you guys went through this when you're training unconscious bias. This was his biases showing through. He's already anticipating she's going to be, whatever. I says, okay, now let's get that out the way. Now let's enhance your skill. And we did a couple role plays. And, he says, now, Doc, tell me 3 things I did that was good. Tell me 2 things I did that I still need to improve on. And tell me 1 thing I messed up on that, I shouldn't do. And we did that. And he gave the feedback. Unfortunately, the person tried, but could not raise her game to produce the results that were needed. And so they decided to move forward, but to move separately. And that's okay. And so now, that person now is a great mentor for other people around courageous conversations. You see how it works? So I'm open. Does that make any sense to that I just said?
And I think that's so amazing, Dr. Goode, in that story, because you talk about the fact that the woman, she did not end up keeping that role, right?
No.
And that's okay, but I guarantee you that feedback that she received was a blessing in disguise because it might have been feedback that she's never been given before.
Right, that's correct.
I think that's the power in a lot of that. It's something that she will never forget.
That's what we hope, yes. That's what we hope.
So I now want to talk a little bit more about mentorship. We know that it is easy for some of us to find mentors and a little bit harder for other ones, right? It can be uncomfortable at times to put yourself out there and find somebody who might have a skill that you're looking to develop, or to find a leader who might be different from you or might lead differently from you, to reach out to them to be your mentor.
Right.
Can you talk about how do you do it?
Yeah, and it's not easy. It is not easy. And the recent crises have shifted the skill sets, the pyramid. It used to be the mentor had to be the expert. Again, think about personal trainer. He or she is the expert. Now, we need mentors that are better at listening to people, not trying to fix everything, not trying to have all the answers. People that are comfortable in their skin, being vulnerable and saying, you know what, that's a good question. I don't know the answer, but let's tell you what, let's work on it together and let's try to figure it out. That's hard, particularly if you've been that ENTJ, driver, get the results, see a problem, fix a problem.
Yeah.
To say now, not only am I not comfortable even talking about it or addressing it, but I just don't have all the answers. And I don't want to feel like I'm a failure. I don't want to feel that helpless feeling of not knowing what to do and asking people for help. That's what people want to. That's what people are going to connect to. Is seeing real, authentic, transparent leaders that's going through their own stuff and saying, hey, look, I'm experiencing some things as well, but let's get through this together. If you want people to feel, no, I'm going to use the trust word. If you want people to trust you, you have to trust them. You have to trust. You have to show them that you're willing to trust them by saying, you know what, I would prefer this not show up on our intranet, but I don't have the answer. Right. I don't know exactly what to do, but let's figure it out. And again, I know that may not be, a definitive answer, but I'm telling you, the leaders that are the most effective today are the ones that have upped their game in the area of listening and empathetic. And oh, by the way, I'll share a vulnerable moment. This will help you at home. And my wife will tell you, and she's right there, I still think I'm the smartest guy in the room. And she will remind me every day, you're not. and it's okay, but no, seriously. I have 2 sons on active duty, 3 daughters, and listening to them and what they're experiencing and what they're going through has made me a better father. It's made me a better husband, simply because I get out of my own way. Again, being a retired Air Force officer, I was used to having all the answers, fixing everything. But that's not what people want. They just want you to listen. Yeah. They just want the respect of you listening. And then, oftentimes, they're able to figure out what the answer is on their own. I think if we can bring that into the workplace without feeling that makes us less than, I think you're going to see things begin to turn around. I really do believe that.
So I actually wanted to tell a story of my first mentorship experience and the person who mentored me at 21 years old. So when I started my career, I started out working in recruiting for a large biotech company. Didn't really care for the industry. Recruiting was cool and all, but it wasn't really my passion. And the chief diversity officer had started 6 months after I had joined the company. And I thought, I'm so nervous. I'm 21 years old. I don't really feel comfortable reaching out to this guy. He's super seasoned in his career. He's an executive. All the things, right, were flooding my head. And I just said, you know what? I'm going to send the email. So I wrote him and I said, I have a passion for diversity and inclusion. It's something that I've always done as outside of work, and how amazing would it be to actually get paid to do something that you love? I want to be you one day. Would you be willing to sit with me and have a cup of coffee and talk about what it takes to be a chief diversity officer? He didn't live in Boston, Massachusetts, where I live, but he said, you know what, the next time that I fly in to the Boston office, let's have coffee. I'll be there in about a week. Do you mind meeting with me at 7:30 in the morning? And I thought, 7:30? Gosh, this guy really wants to be early. Okay, fine, I'm going to take that opportunity. So I sat with him, and fast forward about a year later, we had done some work together where I had started to help build out a diversity recruitment strategy with him, and then he expanded his team from 1 to 4. And he had tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, you've done some really great work for me. I've seen how you've grown and developed, and I want you to now be a member of my team. That started my career in diversity and inclusion. I didn't have a background in that. I didn't have the skills, or I didn't feel confident enough to know what it took to actually work in that field. But just that one conversation and that one email that I had sent has literally was the starting point of the best job that I've ever had in my entire life. So I think if there's anything that you take away from that story is I want you to be courageous when it comes to reaching out to somebody who has a skill that you are seeking to learn or leads in a way that you might not, but you want to grow and develop in that area, and just do it. Just send that email, send that text message, because I guarantee you, we all at the end of the day want to help somebody else be better. And Jody challenged us at the beginning of this meeting that he wanted each of us to walk away being a little bit better of a leader than what we walked into this conference with. And by mentoring somebody or getting in a mentor relationship that might be with someone who might be different from you, you are now becoming a better leader by doing that.
Yep, that's true.
So Dr. Goode, I have one more question for you.
Okay.
We've talked about a lot on the stage today. What are we not thinking about to continue to move the needle around DE&I that we should take into consideration? What are some of those next practices?
Yeah, great question. And maybe it's not that you haven't thought about it, it's maybe you haven't thought about it yet. And by the way, you guys are doing so much, so it's like, okay, if Jody was sitting here or John Eck or anybody, I would say the same thing. Let's not lose sight of the context of and I know they're not doing it on the business side. There's not a, I know they haven't, everybody's been watching the market and everything, so I would say, let's keep in mind the context that everything that we're trying to do that's going on. The business landscape is as tough as we've seen it, and we're still trying to see if it's going to be resilient. Mm-hmm. We still are in this alphabet soup. It's Delta, it's Omicron, it's going to be something else, and that's just the way it's going to be. I'm in Atlanta. The CDC is one of our, well, not the whole CDC, but one department in the CDC is a client. So we're constantly asking them, what are you guys are telling people? Is that we need to get used to some variation of the variation, and we're going to have to live with that. Well, what does that mean? How's that going to impact on relationships? I've got clients and their managers that says, I haven't seen my people in over a year. I haven't seen them. Now they're talking to them, but I haven't seen them. I haven't been able to hug them. I haven't been able to give them a fist bump or whatever in a year. Do you know the strain that puts on, the relationships? So what we have to do is just take a step back, take a deep breath, and remember everything that's going on. And then we need to start asking ourselves the same tough questions that we're asking. Mm-hmm. What is it that we haven't done that we need to think about? What is it that we're doing that we need to do better? What is it that we need to do different, that we need to do faster? What is it that we need to stop doing? And just ask business questions. And whatever you're applying to the business, to the workforce planning strategy, to the talent management, applies to DEIB, whatever you want to call it. And it's time to just ask questions. And then let's make sure that we got more people at the table that we're asking questions to. Sure, we're asking the board. Sure, we're asking customers. I know, because I get the customer sat surveys. I know you guys are asking your communities in your give back programs. Ask employees and then to look at it, and maybe there's two things that you need to be doing different or better. But I would say, number one, take a step back and think about the whole context of what's going on. And then the next one is, I would say this may be a time to be bold. If there's something that you said, you know what, we've been thinking about this. We've been saying, wouldn't it be, I wonder what would happen if. Maybe we dust that off the shelf and maybe you pilot that somewhere. Maybe you pilot that somewhere. We were talking, and I was amazed that you told me, how much success you're having in the field and in certain divisions and things like that. I was just tickled pink about that. Now's the time, if you're not sure about an initiative, a process, a program, a practice, pilot it. Do a small pilot and see how it works. I'm saying, let's use these crises as a platform for change. Mm-hmm. And let's do something different, and let's do something better. But let's tap into those people out there that are busting their butt to make Mattress Firm success and say, what do you think? What do you think? What could we do a little better, a little different that could help you do your job, and that would help make us successful? That's what I would do. And again, I'm going to keep saying this. That doesn't cost any money.
So Dr. Goode, I love what you said about being bold, right? And I think being bold means to me that each of us own driving DE&I forward. That means that we had talked about the fact that everybody in here should be considered a Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer. We all own this, and we all have skin in the game. This is what our field leadership team looks like. So if not us, then who? And if not now, then when? If we're not doing it, how can we expect that our sleep experts are communicating with our customers and creating this sense of belonging? We need to make sure that we are passing that message down. We need to be the change that we wish to see in the world. So with that, I want to say thank you so much for listening. Dr. Goode, thank you so much for your advice today.
Thank you.
And we hope to have you back. And I hope to see all of you at the lunch or breakfast tomorrow. Remember, it is the Spruce Conference Room 1-2. Come learn about how you can continue to get involved in our diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts.
One quick thing we forgot to tell them.
Oh,
I don't know how you're going to do this, but we have several copies of my most recent book, Beyond Inclusion: Reimagining the Future of Workers in the Workplace, and we've got several copies. I'll be glad to sign these. I don't know how you're going to, somebody's supposed to say how we're going to, are there numbers under seats or whatever, but we'll figure it out. And like I said, I'll be around all day. Me and my wife, if we're not here, I'm taking her shopping, so y'all.
I have an idea, Dr. Goode.
Okay, you got an idea?
The first 5 or the first person from every division that comes to the breakfast tomorrow morning will get a free copy of the book.
You're going to have people standing in line.
So thank you very much for your time today, and take care all. Have a wonderful rest of your afternoon.
Anything can happen.